Okay, so my name is Josip. I did my first design studio here at the ATTP in 2018, and this was Statuesque Buildings. After this, I did levitation. But before attending any of these studios, I visited the Sophistication Conference in December 2017, I think, yeah. And it was in the masters I wanted to do more with, I wanted to dive into architecture theory. I thought this was lacking in my bachelor studio. So then I thought this would be one of the pillars of dealing with architecture and architecture education. But yeah, it was just possible in the master to immerse more into it. So I went to the Sophistication Conference, and the thing was, I was very much, I couldn't follow. It was too hard, and it was the terms that were used, but it was also the subject that was treated, so it felt somehow intimidating. But at the same time, I was attracted by the fact of, that there's something challenging, and it seemed like, yeah, that there is much more to get out of it. So yeah, in a very shy and a bit intimidated way, I signed up for the first studio that was Statuesque Buildings, and there we had to. It was about types, building types, and it was about articulating qualities that can't be named. So the difference, if you compare it to all the other studios I was used to do before, is like usually we would have a short period of analysis, and then you dive into the project, and then you present something. And here it was like this analysis part. I don't know if one should call it analysis or not, but it was much, much longer before starting to act. So, and within this, one had to, it was not about judging. It was not about, also as I learned it at school, and it was very common, like to take a position, to take a stance and articulate the stance. So it was about withholding oneself from judging and thinking what these qualities can be, what these types can be, what is there at stake. So yeah, this was a very enriching process, this approach of working with patience and withholding oneself from judging in the very beginning. So, and the other studio I did was levitation with VIA this design studio. And yeah, levitation is a amalgam of something violent and restful and peace and calm. And at this time, I was reading a book from Arno Altenberg. I think it's called Wie frei ist die Kunst? Yeah, that's the title. And there is this example he brings with a painter, Dana Schutz, who painted the painting called Open Casket. She painted a black boy, like when he was buried, when they opened the casket where he was in. And the reaction of an artist from England, if I'm not wrong, from Hannah Black, was that this painting should be destroyed. Yeah, the question was if you can really want to destroy a painting, but also not to take a position and say, no, you cannot do it, or yeah, you can do it. So there is the necessity of Dana Schutz painting this, there is this other necessity of Hannah Black telling that it should be destroyed, and to find a way to deal with both. So what was important there for me was the impact these things have on people. So I guess the impact is something that's in between these manifestations, or between these actions. And the impact is not the emotion or the feeling. So the impact comes with the emotion and the feeling, and it's there. And if I was to describe this impact, it might be something as giving birth to a potential, or rises some potential. As I mentioned earlier, it was important for me to also have this part of architecture theory in general in my education. And in the beginning, I was looking at this like I would just read theory to enrich my own thoughts, and then this would help me with my projects. So, and I never thought I would write. So after finishing school, I decided writing is another way I can express myself. I was sure about this. So I totally rejected this. I didn't even think about this. And things changed. So I don't see it now as something I consume to enrich myself. And then I discuss first, and then I have to present some outcome. It's like, now I'm also writing, I'm doing my master thesis. I'm going to talk about this later. And yeah, and that's one thing that changed in my approach to the topic. So I allowed myself, or I all of a sudden had this self-confidence to articulate myself. And the other thing was, at some point I realized architecture is not happening for architects. This architecture is happening in the world. That sounds very clear, but the thing is, if it is happening in the world, then this implies that architects have to step out of architecture. So they also have to try to be at home in the world and deal with it. So this means that any other topic, one has to deal with other topics and keep the connection with architecture. And I guess this is more and more important, to be able to have this selection by one own, not to have this proposal to deal exactly with that topic, because with information that comes in and what we have to deal with daily, you will have to find a way like to pick and stand up and not to forget about the rest. But I mean, it's a responsibility when you pick. And it's not getting any less important. When I started my master thesis, I knew that I would finally want to deal with Yugoslavian architecture. Finally, I had this possibility. It has to do with the fact that I was born in Bosnia, but it was still from Yugoslavia in the 90s, in 1990. So, and I knew that I wanted to deal with Yugoslavian architecture, but I did not know what I exactly wanted to do. So with the time, I could identify there a certain, I would call it a speechlessness with certain buildings. It's not with all the buildings from this period, but I think it has to do with those buildings that were commissioned by the Federation, so not by the republics themselves. So the Federation doesn't exist anymore. And there is a lack of ideas or a way of dealing with them. One really doesn't know how to think about them. So what I want to try is to find a language that would not position one in this way to confirm socialism or to reject it, but to find a language that is more shared among everybody when dealing with these buildings. So, and I've been working on it for some time on this project, and as I told you, the force of all this was the speechlessness I could identify. And some time ago, I presented where I was standing, and so I had to recognize that what I was doing was somehow an inverse project of that, what I've been seeing that they did in Yugoslavia, like how to give a form to this identity from 1974 that tried not to build upon tradition. So I had to realize that what I was in filling this void or this speechlessness, I was trying to get rid of this speechlessness, and had to recognize that what I was doing was like a reverse process of what they were doing, but just I have started with the form, and a reverse parallel process, one could call it, because it was not going back the same way, but a parallel way, but in the same manner. So, and this was not satisfying, and this is not satisfying. So the next step in my work will be, I guess, to think about the term speechlessness itself, and if it has, why I call it that way, and to find a way to work with this word. I think I will have to accept it to a certain extent. Yeah, that's where I stand. I wanted to talk about whom I would recommend it, but I would recommend it to anybody who feels attracted in any way. And I think it's really attraction. It's not, you can't really find another place. If I think of myself in the first certification conference, I don't remember myself laughing at one point because I couldn't believe that I really couldn't follow at all sometimes. But this is what made the attraction. So combined with insecurity and not feeling confident, of course. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. Struggling and it's beautiful and struggling and yeah, that's the way it goes on, I think.